Welcome back, everyone. Today we continue our exploration of Chapter 14 of Keeping Faith Alive with Annu Pandey. Healing from spiritual abuse doesn't end when someone leaves a toxic environment. Many survivors continue to experience triggers, flashbacks, moments of self-doubt, and fears about reconnecting with spirituality. In this episode, we'll explore how to navigate these challenges, understand the difference between setbacks and relapses, and discover ways to reconnect with spirituality in a healthy and authentic way. We'll also discuss whether spiritual growth is possible outside traditional communities and how survivors can create a meaningful spiritual life on their own terms. This is a conversation about resilience, sorry about that, growth and finding peace after the storm. Let's begin. How are you, Anu?
I'm great, Siddharth. How are you?
I'm awesome, and I'm glad to see you again. And how was your weekend?
Same here. Weekend was fine, busy as usual.
Awesome. Anu, can you tell me what are triggers and flashbacks and why can they feel so overwhelming?
Triggers. Trigger is any symbol. It could be an internal reminder, an external reminder, anything that reminds a person of a painful or a traumatic memory is called as a trigger. Now, it can be anything like internal triggers can be thoughts, memories, even bodily sensations, or any emotions that arise inside you. And they remind you of something that happened in the past that caused distress to you in the past. Similarly, trigger can be external also. It could be any symbol outside of you, it could be a place, a person, a thing, a sound, any religious language, any scripture, anything, a person also. So anything outside of you that reminds you of event that happened in the past that was painful or that was traumatic is called an external reminder or an external trigger. Flashbacks. Um, Flashback is the feeling. The people generally think that flashback is just reliving a vivid memory from the past. It can be that, but flashbacks are actually two types. There is the one type of flashback is one in which we vividly remember a past traumatic event, and there can be another type of flashback which is just emotional flashback, in which you don't recall the actual event that happened in the past, but you have all those bodily sensations, the feelings, the thought that arise at that time. For example, you are just going on with your day and suddenly you have a feeling of deep shame or guilt, or you're suddenly angry. If you pause and try to notice, there has to be a trigger behind this, because if some everything is safe in your environment, nothing changed, but suddenly, I mean, there is no immediate danger in your environment, but still you have a sudden intense feeling, or something going on in your body, could be a bodily sensation also, then you are in a flashback. Now, as I said, it could be of two types. Either you are actually remembering something, you're reliving a traumatic or painful memory, or your body, your nervous system is recalling something that happened in the past, and you're not sure why suddenly I'm feeling so much shame, why I'm suddenly so irritated and angry. You might have noticed sometimes when we are talking to someone, we are just sitting in room with other people and someone says something, and suddenly we are very irritated and angry, and the thing that this person said, it wasn't something very harmful, or they were not even attacking me, and it wasn't even a personal thing, but I became so angry because it reminded my nervous system of something that happened in the past. For example, a well-meaning person is giving someone a spiritual suggestion, a spiritual guidance, using the same language that was used to, let's say, manipulate you at one point, and that manipulation caused you harm. And now you're observing from a distance someone guiding someone using the same language or same words from a scripture, and suddenly you are angry, you are irritated, and Where is this coming from? It's coming from the past. So this is what, this is what a flashback is. Flashback are also of two types: emotional flashbacks and cognitive flashback. Emotional flashback can be recognized as intense feelings of shame, guilt, anger, helplessness, or sudden panic. We all go through this. We all have some level of trauma. And if you or me or anyone who is watching this video tries to recall the times when some suddenly you had any of these intense feelings, then you must know that you were in an emotional flashback at that time. Similarly, there can be cognitive flashbacks, which are suddenly, if you're just going through your day and suddenly you have a memory, or you have a flash of an image from the past, or intrusive thoughts. What if I am a worthless person? A lot of people who deal with lack of self-worth, suppose they are going through their day and they just open their social media and someone posts a negative comment about the content they created, the photo that they have posted, and suddenly you are feeling that I don't deserve good words from people. I don't deserve friends that are emotionally healthy. Suddenly, you have this intrusive thought about your self worth or your anything about you. Let's say you are in at workplace and your boss calls you and says something to you about the report that you prepared, and suddenly you feel worthless, or you feel that you are incompetent although you are not. But in that moment,
Mm.
if you have a sudden intense feeling of being an incompetent person, although rationally your brain might know that you are not, but then it could be an emotional, it could be a cognitive flashback. Suddenly your nervous system remembers something from the past where you were made to feel incompetent by someone, and that was very painful, that was very traumatizing for you. So now your nervous system is remembering that moment, it's reliving that moment. So trauma activates the nervous system. Trauma activates your nervous system, and then it acts, the alarm system of your brain acts as if the same trauma is happening again. Even if you rationally know that my environment is safe right now, nobody is doing any harm to me, but the brain alarm system, it will react as if the trauma that happened in the past is happening again. Understanding of triggers and emotional flashbacks can be very helpful in someone who's been through abuse. And they feel overwhelming because nervous system activation takes place. And when your nervous system is activated, it's very difficult to distinguish past from the present. And this is why a lot of people who have trauma, they live their daily lives as if the trauma that happened in the past is still happening. Even though it's not there, the person is not there, the situation is not there, but the feelings that they felt at that time, they still carry that. The beliefs that they developed because of that trauma, they still carry that. And the nervous system, it get activated even at the slightest hint of any of the triggers. And brain alarm system, it starts to make your body react in the way as if the trauma is still happening. And it's a very sad thing that these people, their nervous system, their body, their life, everything, it keeps stuck in the past, and it's very difficult to move on from this.
All right, there's a comment here already. This is from Resh Chetan. Hi, Anu. Trigger relapse is due to fears of the past and repetition. When a person is in doubt, triggers happen.
Trigger relapses due to the fear of the past and repetition when a person is in doubt. um, it's not always that person is consciously having a doubt or is consciously afraid. That's what I just said, that it's
Okay.
how your brain starts to work when you go through a trauma. At that time, at the time of trauma, your brain, your nervous system, it calibrated in a way to protect you in that environment. Now the danger is not there, but still your nervous system, your brain perceives any smallest thing that reminds you of that memory of that event and takes it as real threat. So it happens on the unconscious level. It happens as if body is working on the autopilot.
Awesome. What are the most common forms and sources of triggers for survivors of spiritual abuse? Sorry.
Um, Someone who has been through spiritual abuse, religious trauma, or have been through toxic faith system, the triggers that they would experience because of this type of trauma coming from the religious trauma, these triggers can be broadly classified into three types,
Mhm.
three categories. The first one is religious triggers. Obviously, most of the triggers are going to be religious, um, and they can be of two types: scriptural references and religious languages. Scriptural references, for example, as I said, if you see someone using a verse while guiding
Mhm.
someone spiritually, even singing a song, saying a prayer, anything, and it reminds you of something that happened in the past, it could bring suddenly uh, feelings of anger, shame, guilt. If any scriptural reference was used in the past to shame you, to control you, to silence you, or to manipulate you, it can now activate your nervous system. It can activate the painful memories that your brain is holding. Similarly, religious languages, words like obedience, submission, authority, rebellion, sin, faithfulness, they, even though they are just normal words, but if someone uses them around you, that you should obey, completely obey, and it's sinful, even if someone talking about a real sin that's like killing people is actually a sin, but now it reminds you of the time when these words were used to manipulate you, to coerce you. It's sin, this is sin, that is sin, it's sinful. Or let's say someone is guiding someone by saying that you should do more prayer, you should be spending more time in spiritual practices, and now, and you, this is something that's very healthy thing they are telling them, but you, or maybe they could be telling you, but it reminds you of the time when these nice things were told to you, because there was somebody was trying to manipulate you, or trying to gaslight you, or trying to make you think that the problems that you are facing is because of you are not trying your best. So any religious thing, any word, any scriptural references that reminds your nervous system of a past painful memory when you were mistreated, using these things that can activate your nervous system, and your brain alarm system can go. Second is authority related triggers. Whenever you come across a charismatic leaders, most of the leaders in toxic faith system, in cult like communities, are very charismatic. Narcissists and psychopaths are very charismatic. They have a lot of fan following, and people worship them. It's like they can never be wrong no matter what they do, that kind of fan following they have. So if you are around any other person, even if this person is not into spirituality, they are not even spiritual leaders, and if you come across any such person, you might get triggered. It can activate again your nervous system, and you might get angry or suspicious because it reminds you of the charismatic leaders you were in association with at one point. Similarly, demand for unquestioned obedience. Let's say you are in a parents teacher meeting, in your child's school, and one of the teachers says something like this: teacher, the student should always obey their teacher, and there should be unquestioned obedience to questions. It might trigger you, it might remind you of the time when you gave unquestioned obedience to someone, and it caused you harm, so now you will be extra careful. So and the third one are environmental triggers. It could be anything in your environment. It could be place of worship, a specific church or a specific temple, rituals, songs, prayers, food, festival, religious ceremonies, gatherings, anything. Anything in your environment, a physical, tangible thing that reminds you of a painful or distressing memory from the past. So there are these are basically three categories.
How can survivors manage triggers without feeling defeated by them?
So the first step to deal with the triggers is, it's very important to deal with triggers. If someone has been someone has faced any kind of trauma, whether it was a single isolated traumatic event or it's an ongoing trauma. It's very important to understand what your triggers are and deal with them. It can improve one's life a lot. I have a book. I will share the link of that book to you, and you can share it in the description. It's a very,
Yeah.
very good for book for someone who is going through complex trauma. This book is written by Pete Walker, and he has a website where there are free downloadable sheets. People can download and put them in your bedroom. There is a specific PDF to deal with the triggers, so you can print that out and you can refer to it on daily basis, and it can be very, very helpful. I'm briefly going to tell what you can do, and using that the worksheet that I'm going to provide from Pete Walker's website, it will also help you achieve what I'm going to tell you. The first step to deal with emotional trigger is to recognize first. Identify your trigger patterns. Whenever you have a sudden intense feeling that distresses you, try to note down. You can do it at the time of the distress, or you can make a ritual that before going to bed you will try to note down everything that triggered you on that particular day. So this way your brain, initially you will be writing on paper in your diary, but over the time you will become habitual of noticing the trigger in the moment. So you will not need to write down. Whenever you will feel distressed, you will be automatically detect what happened, what was the word or the thought or the event, or if something happened in my environment that triggered me. And when you become habitual of noticing your triggers, then you can immediately name it, name the experience, what just happened. If I am sitting here talking to you and suddenly something in your background reminds me of a traumatic event, and if I can tell myself, oh, I just got triggered because I saw something. So what I'm doing is I am naming the experiences. When you name it, you tame it. When you name a distressing thing that is happening to you and the cause behind it, it immediately creates a psychological distance. And when there is a psychological distance, it allows us to think more and go ahead to deal with this. So this is the first step, to recognize and name it. And the second step is to regulate. There are several things that one can do to regulate. You can just sit down in a quiet place and breathe slowly. Inhale and exhale. Inhale at the count of 4 and exhale at the count of 6 or 7 if possible. The exhale should be longer. It can immediately calm your body. You can also do gentle movements, slow dancing or something, or you can do sensory awareness. Just sit down and try to notice the sensations in your body. There is also a very good exercise. It's called as 5 4 3 2 1. Observe any 5 objects in your environment. Try to try to touch any 4 different textures in your environment. Then try to notice 3 sounds in your environment. Smell, try to smell 2 things in your environment. And then last one is taste 1 thing. So this is how you engage all your 5 senses, and you immediately all your senses become grounded. You can bring back your senses that suddenly went into the flashback in the past. You can bring all them in the present moment. And you can all use, there are other emotional regulation skills also that one can use. You can splash cold water on your face, and it's like that. So ground yourself, breathe, and do emotional regulation. After noticing the triggers, you ground yourself, you regulate yourself. And the last one is reframe. When you are completely grounded, try to reframe. A lot of people who are trying to heal, they see triggers as failures. I had a client who was doing really well, but she met her abuser one day and she got so dysregulated. She started to think that counseling is not working, healing is not working, she's not healed yet. But that's not the thing. Triggers are the reminders. Triggers they are like healing opportunities. Let's say you have a big machinery and you are trying to operate it, it's operating very nicely, and suddenly you hear a funny sound. So it's an
Mm,
opportunity to find out what's wrong so that you can correct it. Similarly,
mm.
triggers remind you that there are some areas that need attention, that need healing. So see your triggers as messages being sent to you by nervous system. See them as information, not as personal failures. And always remember, if you are triggered, see, if someone has been through trauma, the triggers can last with you for years. Not regularly, they will not consistently, you will be observing them, but suddenly, after years of something happens, suddenly you might get triggered. So, these are part of healing. Always remember that triggers don't mean that you're going backwards, it means that you need additional healing and additional support in your healing journey.
What is the difference between a trigger, a setback, and a relapse?
Triggers, setbacks, relapse. Trigger is temporary. Yeah,
Hmm,
trigger is a temporary activation, and we must not fear it. As I said, I just
hmm.
ended the previous answer by saying that it's a temporary activation of emotional distress. That is it. It's a reminder that healing, there are areas that need more work and that you need more support in your healing journey. It's just an emotional reaction that stays for some time, and the steps that are suggested to deal with it, if someone does that, it will go away in no time. And when you become habitual of tracking your trauma pattern, your trigger patterns, it will become more easy to handle, and you can overgrow or outgrow them at one point. Now, setback is something that might look like a failure, that might look like at some point that maybe I'm going backward in my healing journey. But this is also short term disruption, which looks like in recovery, symptoms may increase for a period of time, but recovery continues afterwards. So if someone is going through healing process, someone is in counseling and therapy, triggers will happen sometimes. You might also have setbacks, but the third one, relapse, it's more significant thing. It's more significant return to unhealthy patterns or behaviors. And relapse means, let's say someone was dealing with alcoholism or substance abuse, someone was trying to get rid of that, and you start drinking regularly, you start to drink heavily for a long period of time, it means it's a relapse. And it's somewhat like we can say to back to square one. So triggers are harmless. Do not get discouraged if you are having triggers. Do not get discouraged if you are having setbacks. But if relapse is happening, it means that you are back to square one somehow, and you need to restart things again. So if someone is in the stage of setback, it's important to deal with that so that you do not go into the relapse.
Interesting. How can survivors rediscover their spiritual values after leaving a harmful environment?
After someone has left spiritually harmful environment, they should first deal with their healing, try to connect with themselves, try to connect with society, have heal themselves, their self-worth, their identity, their autonomy, their self-worth, and also try to connect with people, because once someone leaves a spiritually harmful environment, they also become very lonely. So try to connect with people. Do not get into very intense relationship, but try to um, find people who are like-minded, who are emotionally safe, who don't judge you, who are supportive. And then the third thing that is to be done is to reconnect with God. In toxic environments, the we when we leave with the feeling that maybe God was narcissistic too, maybe God was involved. It is very important to understand it was not God, it was not God, it was people who used his name. It was not scriptures, it was people who used the scriptures, weaponized them. God, God's name, God's message, and the scriptures against you. It's very important to recognize this thing. And after that, we need to, when we come in terms with this thing that, okay, it was not God, so God is safe. Now, I want to connect with God. Then this step will come that, okay, since God was safe, he didn't intend to harm me, so now I would like to reconnect with him because it's good thing to be spiritual. It's beneficial actually in your spiritual life and in your material life as well. As spiritually keeps you grounded, so it's good if someone wants to reconnect with God. Now, how do you rediscover your spiritual values? Because the values that you carried, they were associated with the group. The group is no more, the connections are no more, the guidance is no more. So now, um, it might feel like you are in a desert, standing alone, nothing is there. So, here are a few things that one can do to reconnect. One needs to separate their values from indoctrination. You can even write them down, or you can just sit down and try to recall what are the beliefs that I had been carrying. Out of these beliefs, which are the beliefs that reflect my personal values, and which are the ones that I accepted because of fear, shame, or any pressure or indoctrination. It's very important. This is the first step. And when you clearly recognize these two categories, you can leave behind the later ones, the one you accepted out of fear, shame, indoctrination, or oppression, because they do not reflect your values. They are not your values. They are not aligned with your soul. And so now accept that part only which aligns with your soul. Then it challenged any imposed teaching, any teaching that was imposed on you. Try to analyze that as much as you can, so that you can come to the conclusion which ones I want to carry, which ones I want to leave. Then some people also approach, there is also need to approach with curiosity rather than pressure, any exploration that you want to do now, whether you want to explore other groups in your faith, any other faith system, other scriptures. Even within faith system, there are different scriptures. So now this time, remember, do not do anything out of pressure, because you might still be conditioned, you might still be programming like before, because I have to, otherwise it will be sinful. So do not operate from pressure, operate from curiosity. Go ahead and explore the scriptures, read the scriptures, meet people from different faith systems, from different groups, and try to understand what are the things from this that align with my personal values. So curiosity without pressure and openness to uncertainty should also be there. Then um, it's also a good time for value clarification. Try to, apart from your spirituality in general, sit down and think, what are the things that give me meaning, that give me purpose, and what kind of person I want to become, what kind of values I want to carry, and what are the things that I don't want to do in my life. Because we all have some personal values like honesty, integrity, truthfulness. Some people do not believe in always speaking truth and can, so we have different level of honesty, truthfulness, integrity. So see what are the personal values that you want to develop in yourself as a person, because we all come with some installed settings that, it's not that, you will see that in a family, there if there are three children, they will all have different type of consciousness, different type of approach with people, with society, with themselves, because we all are born with some default setting, and then we use knowledge and information and resources we take from the environment, and we groom ourselves. So it's very important in your spiritual life, it's very important to understand what your default settings are, so that you can find spiritual, you can develop cultivate a spiritual life that aligns with your personal values. So reclaiming freedom and to choose. It's very important that this time I will not be operating under pressure. I will try to develop a personal relationship with God that allows me to become a kind of person I want to become. For example, why I'm saying this repeatedly, because in toxic faith system, you are given a set of do's and don'ts, and sometimes they are totally against your personal values. Because let's say I am someone who doesn't like to hurt people, and my religion tells me to go and kill everyone who does not belongs to my religion, so it's not aligning with my personal values. So in every religion you will find people who are not very much fully doing everything that their scriptures say because of their own default setting. So it's important to find your own default setting and then cultivate a spiritual life around it, so that everything is aligned. When everything is aligned, there is very low amount of anxiety or stress, and it's easy to move forward in your spiritual life.
What should survivors consider before joining a new spiritual or religious community?
First of all, if someone has experienced abuse, manipulation, coercion, control, violence, any kind of mistreatment in their spiritual community, it is suggested that do not immediately find a new one. When you leave a spiritual community, give yourself time to heal from what happened there. Give yourself time to find yourself, to find your true self and connect with this, with yourself. Develop the ability to identify, to differentiate harmful and from the something that is healthy, whether it's a person, it's a group, values, or anything. So it's very important that you become healed to a level where you can identify if this person is healthy or unhealthy, if this group is healthy or unhealthy, whether I want to be here, whether I want to be in a relation, in a group, in a system, or because of fear, guilt. Some people who have a wounded inner child, some people who have been through childhood trauma, most of their life they don't know what they actually want, because they are so conditioned to work from their, to see things, experience things, understand things from the lens of their trauma, that they don't know what they want from their life, so they operate from their trauma. So it's very important to understand, if you have that kind of pattern, that you keep attracting unhealthy people all your life, in in office, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your college, you always had toxic people around you as your friends, lovers, or whatever. It means you could have a wounded inner child. So get your inner child healed, get yourself healed from the trauma that was caused to you from your previous community. Then comes the step of finding a new community. A community, a healthy community can actually be very powerful, can be very helpful in growing spiritually, if compared to trying to grow personally. Because a community gives you structure, it gives you discipline, it gives you association of like-minded people who are also walking the same journey as you are. So a good healthy community can be very, very helpful, can be amazing if someone is trying to grow spiritually. But one has to remember, at the same time, if the community is not healthy, it can destroy your spiritual life, it can make it worse than it was before you came to the community. So I'm going to tell you some red flags and some green flags to watch out for, so that you do not get carried away again in an unhealthy group. If you're trying to join the community, first of all, observe the leadership structure. See if there is accountability mechanism and if there is transparency. Members who are already a part of that community observe how they are being treated by the leaders, how leaders communicate with each other, how they communicate with the members, and how members communicate with each other. It's very important to see if something wrong happens from the end of leaders, do they take accountability, or they just brush it off, or pin it on innocent people, scapegoat someone. What is happening? What about accountability? It's very important to see if the accountability is there. Then transparency. If the same type of knowledge is available to everyone, of or the the knowledge is filtered for the followers, and especially for the new followers, and everybody has a different level of information, different level of understanding of what is happening in the society, in the community, or if something happens outside of the community, how it is being perceived inside the community. If people are allowed to look at it how it is, or it is coming through a filter of leaders. So pay attention to the leadership structure. It's very important because they are the ones who would be controlling, guiding everything inside the community. Then pay attention to the community culture. See if they respect your boundaries and if there isn't any tolerance for disagreement. When you try to associate with a new group, and sometimes you might have to say no to any invitations because you have your personal engagements or anything, see how they react. If they respect your boundaries, your preferences, that today I don't want to come, or I don't want to attend, and if they respect that, it means they are respecting your boundaries. Because toxic community, they do not respect your boundaries from the day one. They do not want to see you as a person. They see you as a target that they have to achieve by bringing you in. They do not see if you are having a migraine pain, if you are hospitalized, if your family member is hospitalized and you're needed there. They will always feel you guilty if you try to say no, and they will try to make you feel that you're unfortunate because you are required someone else when you should be here in the church or temple or mosque or whatever. So it's very important to see. In fact, in any relationship, any friendship, any romantic relationship, trying to find a business partner for yourself. Any kind of relationship cannot be healthy if there is not the boundaries are not there. So watch out for the boundaries first of all, and see if there is a tolerance for disagreement. If you are associating with them and something happens and you say that no, I don't disagree with what this person is saying or what this leader is saying, and suddenly you see them all offended, means something is wrong. It means these existing members, they have been taught that disagreement is wrong, and someone who disagrees is sinful, or they are dangerous for the community. So they will all go and try to defend themselves, or the leader who is saying something that you don't agree with. And then the red flags. If there is an exclusive claim, it can be the biggest red flag. Some communities, some spiritual groups say that we are the only way to the God. Everyone else is confused and they are contaminated, and they don't know who God is and how to reach to God, and they are all on wrong path, and if you associate with them, you will destroy your spiritual life, and we are the only way, or my leader is the only one because he is God, or he is directly connected. Any kind of exclusive claims is the biggest red flag. Then excessive control. If you are a new member, if you're trying to connect with them, you are still a new member, they might not control you too much, and you might feel that, oh, they're not very controlling. But pay attention to the existing members. See if they are being excessively controlled, because if the old members are being excessively controlled, you too would be when you become an old member. Then suppression of questions, also suppression of any dissent. If you can try asking a question in a meeting, in an association, in a gathering, and you can also observe other people trying to ask questions and see how that question is taken. If the leaders or the old members, they get offended because someone asked a question, or they just try to give an answer whatever they have, or they might say things like, oh, I don't know the answer to this question, I might research and tell you later on, then it's okay. But if they get offended, if they make fun, you will see a lot of time when spiritual leaders are asked a question whose answer they don't know. Instead of saying that, I don't know the answer to this question, I will read and find out, I will tell you later on, or simply just saying that I don't know, they will make fun of the one asking it. It also happens in educational setups. I have worked as a teacher and observed that incompetent teachers, if students ask them questions, they would always make fun of the student in front of everyone, and everybody would laugh at that student, and that student will shut down and will stop asking questions. Instead of saying that, oh, I don't know the answer to this question, I will go and research and I will tell you tomorrow, they make fun of that child, that student, so that they don't ask questions. Spiritual leaders also do that. I have observed spiritual leaders also doing that. When you ask them a question whose answer they don't know, no, they will never say. If the leader is toxic,
Mm,
this toxic leader will never say that I don't know the answer. They would make fun of you. They will make you feel ashamed for asking that question. And others will also confirm that you something is wrong with you, and you are funny, you are silly for asking that question. So try to ask a question, and that is difficult. And if they make you feel ashamed for that, they won't be able to handle questions. You should know that. So asking question is also important.
that's true. Lastly, can a person continue growing spiritually without belonging to any community, and if so, how?
Many people find nourishment through personal spiritual practices. In my country, in India, most of the people that I know, my relatives, all my relatives, and most of my friends are not associated with any community, and they are doing really well. They're doing really well. They and from generations they are doing that. In fact, my parents, my grandparents, everybody has spiritual life like that. Nobody had association with any spiritual community, and they're doing just fine. So although I just said in the previous response that it's good to have a community, but if you
Mm,
can't if you're not healed to a level where you can find a healthy community, or if you're healed but because of bad luck you have not been able to find a good community, then for the time being, up to the time until you can find a good community, it's totally fine to have a personal relationship with God that's not enslaved to any community or any group. When someone has been a part of group for a very long time, inside the group, inside the toxic group, members are made to feel that it's not possible at all to develop a spiritual life without a group. You need this group, and especially this one you need. If you want to grow spiritually, you cannot do it without this group. Anyone who is trying, they're not doing anything, they're not progressing. This group is a must, and people develop this belief. But if we look around us, especially in India, if you have any relatives currently living in India, there are rarely any, there are very few handful amount of people who are actually associated with communities, because this community things is uh, become very popular these days. Before it wasn't, because I know all my ancestors, they were not associated with any community. They are just part of religious group, but not a community. So it's totally fine, and you too can develop a relationship with God. So find try to find nourishment through personal spiritual practices, like do prayers, do meditations, and do self reflection. And meditations, there are so many types of meditations available. If you want to do chanting, there are so many mantras suggested in so many scriptures. Choose whatever makes you feel calm and grounded and connected to God. You can even write your own prayers. There are so many people who write their own prayers. You don't even need to write. You just sit in front of your deities or a picture, or you can just sit in a quiet place and pray whatever you want to say. Express your gratitude for whatever God has given you, the nice things that have happened to you in your life, nice people that have come around, nice experiences, the good qualities that you have. If you are a truthful, honest, good person with integrity, thank God for making you like that, because not everyone has these qualities. So you can develop any kind of prayer and do that. Meditations, whatever meditation. So uh, develop your own practices that make you feel at peace, that make you feel connected to God. If you are doing a practice by yourself and it makes you feel connected to God, you are on the right path. And it's much better than trying to do something that you have been pressured to do, and that isn't even making you feel fulfilled, that isn't even letting you feel connected to God. In fact, it's making you develop fear for God. So it's better to have a practice that allows you to connect personally with God. There's some other people, they focus on value based living. Not everyone sees spirituality as connection to God. Some try to find it in being a compassionate person, doing service to mankind, and taking ethical actions. And I must tell you that all the scriptures suggest us to do these things. In addition with praying to God and connecting to God, it's very important because all scriptures tell you to be compassionate, be to forgive others, show them compassion, show them empathy, do service to your community, your society. So if someone finds peace and purpose in doing these things, this is also good, because this is also recommended in all the scriptures. Having compassion for people in general around you, developing empathy, and providing any kind of services that you can, feed the poor, and if you have money, whatever resources you have been given by God, you can use that to serve the community. And some discover spirituality through independent spiritual development by studying and learning nature and contemplation and personal meaning making activities.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.